In this video I'm going to show you how you can build yourself a cardboard coal smoker. Very simple thing to do, something that you can use time and time again. This is certainly not a one-off project. You can carry on using this cardboard smoker for years and years and years, so long as you look after it. Very simply, you're going to need a rack, you're going to need 2 wooden dowels, you're going to need a cardboard box. Now, let me just explain here that this cardboard box is a small one. I would typically use one that's 600 by 600 by 600 millimeters, or 2 foot by 2 foot by 2 foot cube, and that will give you the perfect size for using a cold smoke generator like this or equivalent. You're also going to need some tape. I'm using like a duct tape here, and a sharp knife and a pair of scissors. So let's get into it. First thing we're going to do is we're going to turn this flat box into a cardboard box, and the way we do that is by securing the base with a little bit of tape. And that should do us. Once the base is secure, you know what you're dealing with. We're going to use this as a smoker, and obviously we're going to put food in this. So there's not a great deal of space. Obviously if your box is bigger, it makes it a bit easier. First thing I do, and I do this for the small box as well as I would for the big box, is I cut short the 2 side flaps. First of all, I make sure that these 2 flaps here meet in the middle, and they're your primary sort of closing mechanism there. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut these short. The reason I'm doing that is because over time they will sag in and they might touch the food. So this is really just to avoid that. Now, I'm cutting these off a little bit roughly. You might want to do yours a little straighter, and that's absolutely fine. So that's basically how short you want them. Leave them about 25 millimeters to 1 inch long, and they won't sag in on the food. So this is going to be our cold smoker. First thing we need to do is we need to introduce a rack, and the rack that we're going to use is this one. This is a roasting trivet out of a roasting tray that we've got, and it fits the box perfectly. You can see there that you could get lots of cheese on that, lots of vegetables, or even half a side of smoked salmon in there if you wanted to. But it needs to sit on something. We're going to use these 2 dowels here. These are hardwood dowels. You can buy these from most DIY shops for a few quid. And we need to run these through the box so that when we sit this inside, it doesn't fall right down to the first thing I need to do is mark the dowels where they're going to go on the box. So I position this here, and I want the dowels to go just on the outside of these 2 bits of wire here, and I'll just make a small mark. I've gone through it there with my scissors, and we'll do the same on this side here. Just turn the scissors round so we make a hole. I'll turn the box up the other way, and I'll take a measurement using my scissors of the other hole. I'll position these in exactly the same place on the other side. Oops. A little bit fiddly. I'll just take that measurement again. Okay, that's fine. And I'll just make a mark here. I'll come back to this and go through it in a second. We'll make a little mark there, and we can just get rid of the wrap. And with these holes marked, then I can just go through that, make 2 holes. When you've made your holes with the scissors, what we want to do is reinforce them with a little bit of masking tape. This ensures that these holes won't expand and you'll get a lot of use out of this box without having to worry about the dowels slipping down the box. There we go. Right, these go straight the way through, and we've only got out the other side. I feel like Paul Daniels now. It's a bit of a British reference if you're watching this. He was a magician who used to do a box trick with a lady in the box and stick knives through it. I think you've all seen the trick. Right, so that's basically what the cold smoker would look like. Now you've got to remember, I will keep emphasising this, I am doing this in miniature. At the moment, I would have done this outside, but it's blowing a hoolie out there, so that's why we're doing it indoors. So that's what it looks like. This should now sit neatly on that rack, like so. And you can see it sits on there quite safely. It's not going to fall off. And we're now ready to put our food on there. If you're using a bigger box, one thing I've done over the years when I've made these smokers is I've put 2 layers of dowels in. So I've actually got 2 layers for my food. And I will say this, I've got a larger rack somewhere. Yeah, I've got one here. Let me just get it here. If you do this 600 by 600 box, you can get 2 of those side by side. And if you have 2 layers, because it's a bigger box, you can afford more space at the top. You can actually have 4 of these in your cold smoker. Now, I've done 2 whole salmon. That's 4 sides when I've done cold smoked salmon using a cardboard smoker. Fantastic thing to do. Have a look at my 4-part series about cold smoking salmon. I think you'll find it interesting if it's something that you want to get into. It's in a lot of details in that, so it's worth taking the time to watch it. Right, let's get back to this. So the one thing we need to do now is to introduce the cold smoker, or the cold smoke generator. And obviously I'm going to be using the ProQ cold smoke generator sitting in a metal tray, so we don't want contact between cardboard and smoke generator. Obviously that would be a bad thing. So we need to make an access slot for this. And the way we do this, very simply, is we want to cut a slot in the base do this as neatly as you can. And this is another hole that you'd reinforce. So that's the slot. And what we do with the back of the knife, I make a score mark along the top, like so. There we go. I'll just run the back of the knife along that again. So that doesn't cut through, but it makes sure that when you bend it, you get a nice clean bend. Again, I would reinforce all these with tape, and you'll find then that you can. God, that was tight, wasn't it? Look at that, eh? Didn't even measure that, and look, there it goes. That sits in the base. That can close there. Now, you don't want this completely airtight. You do need air to get in there to allow combustion to take place. So it doesn't have to be completely airtight, but it certainly wants to be in a sheltered spot outside. So you would only ever smoke outside with this. Make sure, just for safety's sake, it's away from anything that can catch fire. I normally put this by a wall, away from anything else. in the shade. You don't want this in direct sunlight either. And whilst we're talking about that, let me tell you a little bit about the maximum sort of temperatures that you're aiming for in here. So you don't really want to get above 30 degrees Celsius. In many other instances, you want that temperature a lot lower. During the summer, I tend to recommend that people smoke their food at night if the temperatures are too high. I mean, I'm filming this in the UK, so our nighttime highest summer temperatures are usually between 14 and lately 20 degrees. I mean, we had a really sort of balmy summer this year. So if you wanted to smoke during the day, it would be almost impossible, certainly cold smoke. If this was in direct sunlight, you could end up with temperatures in here in excess of 45 degrees Celsius. And in some instances, sometimes a lot hotter. I've got a solar wax melter which just sits out in the sunshine, and that gets temperatures enough to melt wax, so it's over 65 degrees Celsius. So keep this in the shade, and if you can't get the temperatures in winter and autumn and spring, it's fine in the UK. In summer it's a little bit iffy, so I tend to do it at night. But most of the year, in the winter, you can do this during the day without too much trouble. But be mindful, even in winter, you can get quite high temperatures in this if it's in direct sunlight. So you want to try and avoid that whenever you can. So one little comfort factor that I indulge myself with is a temperature probe. So here's a temperature probe. We just turn that on, and we poke that through the top there, and that tells us quite clearly where this is indoors. It's 23 degrees Celsius. If we went out, it'd be a little bit cooler, as we're filming this in October in the UK. And you can see there that will give you a readout of what's exactly going on in this smoker. Couple of little things we need to add to this smoker before it's finished. So we've got our little temperature probe hole here. You can again reinforce that with tape if you want to, that's absolutely fine. But there is one other little addition we're going to pop into this smoker, and we need to put this in the top. And I'm going to make a little square cutout because it's easier with a knife. Right, so basically I've just made a little flap here, and that is our vent, and we can just keep that open like that, and that allows the smoke to come out, and then you get a circulation going through. You've got air coming in the base, smoke leaving the top, and you've got that continuous combustion process. A lot of people don't realise, but when you cold smoke food, whilst it's in the cold smoker, and it can be in there for some considerable time, it continues to dry. Part of the process of combustion actually generates moisture. So having that little vent at the top allows that moisture and that spent smoke to leave. One thing that I do like about the cardboard smoker is that if you're into making smoked salt, which is a very sort of chefy, in vogue thing to do at the moment, cardboard's a really good medium for doing that, because as you know, if you leave salt out, certainly in a moist atmosphere, it goes into a block and it's very difficult to break up again. You need to then dry it out in the oven. If you smoke salt in a cardboard smoker, you'll find the vast amount of that moisture that's generated through the combustion process will either leave through here or be absorbed by the cardboard, and that can be a really useful thing. So there you have it, your miniature cardboard cold smoker. Obviously scale it up to suit your own needs, but I think you'll agree with me that that is a delightful little cold smoker. And when it's in operation, you just make sure this is closed and taped down, and you can walk away and come back when your food is nicely cold smoked. Have it, the cardboard smoker from Cold Smoking. I hope you like it, and I hope you go and build one as well. If you do want plans for this, who's going to need plans for this? Goodness sake. They are available on the website. There'll be a link in the description and you can download yourself a copy for prosperity. Hope you enjoy it, and I hope to see you soon on another video. Don't forget, please do subscribe to our channel. We really appreciate your support. Click that bell icon to be notified as soon as we post some new content. In the meantime, have a good one, guys.